Muszę wyraźnie. O, czekaj, czekam.
Hello, welcome to this webinar. Make a call to success with powerful all-flash software-defined storage presented to you by StorPool and M2M Enterprise. Hopefully, you're able to see my screen and my slides for that matter. Do you still see the slides? Okay, cool. So thanks for joining us today. We'll try to take about 20 minutes of your time and have a Q&A session at the end of the talk. And we want to talk about how you can build a fast, reliable, and cost-efficient cloud with the technologies that are now available. We want to show you how to differentiate if you're a cloud provider or a company that's servicing cloud providers. Let's see. Share my entire screen because it seems that it's making issues, and hopefully you'll be able to see my entire screen now. Okay, it's okay now? Yay. Okay, so we'll show you how to build a fast and reliable cloud, and we'll show you how to differentiate if you're a cloud provider or if you're selling or servicing companies that are building clouds. And we're going to show you a storage solution that can help you achieve your company goals. That's on a business level. And I think this is the true innovation should directly help you achieve business goals and not be a technology for the sake of technology. A bit about me, I'm one of the co-founders of StorPool, and we started the company some 6 years ago to help companies which are building public or private clouds to do it efficiently, both in terms of investments and also as technology is available. Before StorPool, I founded several other companies, and I have also worked in enterprises and small companies, so I have experience in both being an entrepreneur and also being a user of technology, so that's familiar. So I'd like to set the stage with a more strategic view of innovation and technologies and how this ties to what we're discussing. And the solution that we are presenting here is basically helping companies to build public or a private cloud. And I think a more important question is, if you're a company that's running your business, you're falling in one of these four categories. And the first company that you can be as a type of company is the disruptor. And that's a company that takes a market by storm. That could be a company like AWS or DigitalOcean or any other company that's getting a huge lead in the market. And that's very hard to replicate. So I think that's kind of the exception. It's not the rule. So this is a company that you can be or you are a first mover in a given market. Then I think the most ideal place from the majority of companies out there is to be the innovator, which is a company that innovates systematically and is looking constantly of what is the technology, what is the process, what are the tools that can make your business a bit better, that can help you service your customers better, that can basically get you a step ahead of your competitors. And hopefully you recognize your company or your target market in this type of environment. So you have these other type of companies that I call the Me Too, and basically they're followers, and you can see them doing what everybody else is doing. These are the companies that are risk averse, that are using technology. Sometimes you can hear them saying, I'm using tier 1 technology, therefore I'm a tier 1 vendor, which is not always the case. Sometimes they're just doing what everybody else is doing and they expect to be the leader in the domain, but there is hard to be a leader if you're using or if you're doing what everybody else is doing. And finally, you have the laggard, and these are companies that are basically behind everybody else. If you're talking about specific domains like MSPs or data centers or cloud companies, even at looking at their website, you can find out that they're laggards because their websites are crappy, their pricing is out of bound, or their processes and everything about everything you encounter about them is just like 10 years behind the market, and this company should get sold or should close business. But hopefully you're in the innovator space, like the top right corner, or you strive and do actions to get there. So if you're building a cloud and you want to build a better cloud, and this is your business or this is the business of your customers, what should you do? Now, obviously, you have to innovate so you can provide a better service. And here we're going to touch what you can do on the IT infrastructure side of the business. And obviously there is marketing and sales, etc. But we'll be talking about the backbone of your service, the IT infrastructure, and the most critical piece of it, which is storage. And usually storage is 50 to 70% of the support cases that you'll receive about your service are in the end related to storage. And there was the old rule of thumb that for every $1 or pound you spend on servers, you're spending $5 on EMC or NetAppBox. So obviously storage is one of the very, very key components of IT infrastructure. So this is important for you if you're building a service, but the customers care about faster service. This is the number one complaint, that service should be faster. My applications are slow. It's taking ages to open an application, etc., etc. I think even more critical feature number 0, we call it, is eliminate downtime. You should become freed from hardware refresh cycles, maintenance, hardware-related outages should be thing long forgotten. A part of your better service is to have more features and to basically provide functionality that's ahead of everybody else. Like could be on the storage layer, it could be snapshots and clones, disaster recovery, integrated backups, a lot of things that are sometimes they seem small, but providing them in an integrated manner to your customers really makes their life easier, and they start adopting more and more of this service, and they also start recommending your services to other customers, which basically increase your brand awareness and brings revenue that's kind of word of mouth growth. And obviously, all these things should come at a fair price that's competitive on the market. So what are problems? If you're building a public or private cloud, what are the problems you would encounter? As we mentioned, performance, and basically we can quantify that. That's either IOPS limits, like your VMs cannot get enough IOPS, or your database doesn't have enough IOPS, or they get IOs at a very high latency. And for the modern world and applications that are requiring almost instant access to the storage system and instant response, anything that's above 1 millisecond of latency is already slow. And usually this multiplies. So I have a database that has a high latency. If you have to do 5 queries to the database, it just piles up. So latency is maybe the most important performance metric of a storage system or an IT stack. Now, if you're building a cloud, you can get a couple of approaches, and one is the traditional approach, and the other one is the software-defined approach, and I'll explain a bit more about that later on in the presentation. But it boils down to the return on investment of your IT infrastructure and basically the cost of the infrastructure. A common problem that we see is limited scalability. We talk to a number of companies that say, I have a very good solution, it's working very well, but then I have to scale it because my business is growing. And then I start to create small silos of IT infrastructure that I have to manage by themselves, or I have to scale a system, but I have to put a forklift in the data center to migrate data, which is painful, time-consuming, and risky. Another thing that we see is building a cloud could be very hard because of the requirements or the limiting factors that you have of the technologies and the facilities you're using. Sometimes it's like the kilowatt hours, the kilowatts you can get to a single rack drives the design of the system, like how many servers, what density of the servers, which basically drives economics. That drives unit cost per VM, per gig, per IO, whatever resources you're selling or your users are consuming. And basically, it's all interrelated. So a solution that's not flexible and cannot mix and match and adapt to your needs basically will be suboptimal on business level. We have many cases that downtime is, how do you prevent downtime, and you want to have a solution that is not only reliable based on the data that you have now, but actually with the booming amounts of data, you want something that has something built in fault tolerance built in the solution, so it actually can be very reliable when you have, half a petabyte, a petabyte, 5 petabytes in this solution. And here is the room in the elephant, a lot of solutions that are not reliable, basically product issues or something else. Usually it's human error, but you basically want a solution that has this extra protection that can, no matter what happens in your data center with your staff, human errors, it can hopefully protect against these as well. And I think one of the major issues when you're building any type of IT services today is the limited time that you have. The people that are hard to hire or don't have the right skill set, or basically they have to constantly, spend 8 hours of their day just to keep up with things. And basically, if somebody can manage some of the stuff for you, that might be a good option. So specialized and outsourced activities that you can get as managed services. On the customer side, you're building a cloud and you have a solution that's a common pattern that doesn't deliver what was promised. So there is a lot of marketing defined storage nowadays, and these are solutions that promise to do ABC and then fail to deliver A, B, or C, or all three together. So this is something that you want to avoid, and this is the idea of we working together with M2M and Dell to basically deliver a solution that is working extremely well, but it's targeted to a specific use case, which is well-defined type of customer. So are going to get. Many cases, if you're building a cloud, it's becoming prohibitively expensive. So you can build a very good solution. The only issue with it is that your ROI is negative. So that's not good. And in many cases, you're underestimating the amount of time and effort it's going to take you to build a solution and then to support it on a rolling basis. So here is how a cloud was done in the 20th century. You had a number of switches, then you had a rack of compute, then you had fiber channel switches, and you always have two for redundancy. Then you had a big expensive SAN storage array. And that's nothing wrong with this approach, except it's very expensive and it's not flexible and it's not really scalable. And it also have a single point of failure, which is a sandbox, which although it has a couple of network interfaces, it's still a single component. So building a cloud now, it's usually something that's moving to the software-defined stack, and it's basically very simple. It uses standard hardware to reduce vendor lock-in. In many cases, these companies are moving to white box servers. Before it was IBM servers, now it's like QCT or Supermicro servers, or usually this type of servers. Not necessarily though. You can of course use any other server, but it's a standard component, and you can mix and match or replace hardware vendors at your wish. In many cases, the cost reduction that you can experience is what drives the process, and also scalability and simplicity of the solution, business agility, which is API control, self-service of your customers, etc., is the thing that actually drives this software-defined trend. So with these things in mind, with these problems in mind, we designed a solution that comes as a package that basically delivers flash level of performance, because this is what you need in the 21st century. It has the advantages of a software-defined storage solution, but it comes with a trusted hardware platform provided by Dell, and also with all the services that are bundled around the solution. And we want to share, what you can get on the market today and how you can benefit. So the solution that we delivered here and we're showcasing here is an extremely fast, mighty reliable, and cost-efficient storage system that is providing shared storage for public or private clouds. That's what it is. So this type of solution or systems are targeted specifically at companies that are running public or private clouds. It could be companies that are building them and owning them, or companies that are leasing hardware, like they are managing these solutions. These companies would need shared storage. In our case, they're looking, in other words, they're looking for a SAN. So basically, they need high availability. Their workloads are mission critical. Their customers are usually B2B, so you have SLAs and you have to provide enterprise grade service. And obviously, they need a lot of performance because of the demands of their customers, or just because of the natural state of IT nowadays that are really resource intensive. The systems that we designed here, and we'll show you in a bit, are designed to provide performance that's actually better than an all-flash array you can get on the market. So it's faster, better, cheaper. They will reduce vendor lock-in because they can run, if necessary, they can run in a hyper-converged manner depending on your software stack. They can run standalone as a standalone appliance, but running on standard servers. And obviously, they'll reduce costs. So in most cases, they'll be less expensive than an alternative all-flash array. I guess here we have a beautiful small graph that visualizes like the performance, of course, on the Macs. You have scalability. Everything is online. Everything is scale up, down, sideways. Cost reduction, no downtime, and simple and flexible by design. So here we have three sizes that we designed out of the box, and we can do solutions that are tailored, but I think the three solutions that we did are basically covering maybe 90% of the use cases and market needs or IT needs out there. Designed for demanding IT environments, which means extremely low latency and high IOPS. They're reliable in the sense of providing shared storage, high availability, live migration. So, hardware failure would not affect these systems unless you have obviously severe outages of the network or data centers, which, that's hard to cover. But anything else like single component server, SSD, etc., network interface, this system just like recovers and self-heals. So it tolerates all kinds of hardware failures. And it's designed to be best of breed solution in terms of price performance. It's not targeted at low performance use cases. Like if you need a backup system, this is definitely not the solution for you. If you need a system that can really cover demanding environments, needs shared storage, and you're looking for low latency at a reasonable, affordable price point, this is the solution for you. We have three sets, as I mentioned, and they're starting with 3 servers is the minimal building block, and then you can grow with adding 1 additional server, and scaling of these systems is online. So the smallest system starts at 7 terabyte usable, and that's maybe 2 times, sometimes more space provisioned. That's visible in virtual machines if you're running in virtualized environments due to the space saving features in the software layer. But we're quoting the actual minimum usable capacity you can get. and that's protected with 3 times replications, with checksums, data integrity, and a lot of technology in the software layer to protect your data and ensure very high, very long data longevity. So the capacities here are net of data protection scheme. So that's 7 terabyte usable, about 14 terabyte provisioned for logical space for the smallest system. In 3 servers, the mid is 14 terabytes and the large is 28 terabytes. All of them started very high. Half a million IOPS is what you would get with any of these systems. It's just the capacity that's different. And these systems would be blazingly fast. They'll be doing a fifth of a millisecond of latency under a very high workload. So up to 250,000 IOs, these systems will do less than 200 microseconds of latency. So these are all flash systems with basically same type of servers, just different density in the nodes, and you can scale them by adding one or more 1U servers to this solution, and you can scale the capacity and performance online with all the workloads and customers running on top of these systems live. Here is a bit more about this solution and what you can get with it, or if you're a reseller, what you can offer to your customers. Basically, we've worked with M2M, who are bundling best-of-breed hardware and software together with all the services needed, so you or your customers have a fast and reliable storage service. So it's not just a piece of software, or it's not a storage box. It's basically kind of like a managed storage solution in your data center, which helps you to get to your primary business, which is to onboard customers, create new services, and you don't have to troubleshoot one of the most problematic pieces of storage of IT infrastructure, which is storage. But to basically have something that's working for you and you can get on with the most important things in your business. So this includes validated and tuned hardware and software, includes 3-year hardware warranty, pro support, next business day on-site service by M2M on the Dell hardware. Also 24/7 enterprise-grade support on the software layer from StorPool, which also has SLA. So basically, it's a package that makes sure that your customers have fast and reliable, always accessible service to the highest extent possible. As we mentioned, this configuration started with 3 storage servers and can grow online. And basically, these systems can grow quite a lot. So the smallest system can grow to about 440 terabytes usable, which is about 2 times the provisioned capacity. Again, if you're virtualized, meaning about 900 terabytes of virtual machine disks on this system. The mid system can grow to about a petabyte, so 900 terabytes usable, and the large system can grow to about 1.8 petabytes usable. I think a lot of companies we're talking to usually don't want to keep a couple of petabytes in a single cluster. So they have like what Amazon calls availability zones concept, which is a policy-driven separation, of IT infrastructure. So they do some small failure domains, but the system can do couple of petabytes easily. Why should you consider this solution? Like what's important to know, or what will give you what will this solution give you? Basically, we started with what are the issues, and one of the most common issues were customers reporting performance issues, or customers saying, okay, your service is good enough, and then they churn and go to a provider that basically delivers them much better service. And I think IOs and latency, as I said, are critical, especially latency. And these systems would basically provide all the performance your customers would ever need. And if they need more performance, you can easily scale the performance online. A very big part is obviously feature number 0, which is, these systems will help you eliminate downtime, because it's shared storage system, Wi-Fi migration, high availability. You become independent of hardware. So you can basically, in 3 years' time, when you have to renew your hardware, you can just add new servers. The software layer of StorPool will basically automatically get the new servers, migrate data online without downtime, without any maintenance windows, and you'll be, on a rolling basis, you'll add the new capacity, add the new servers, rebalance the capacity, and you can decommission the old servers. So basically, this solution is designed for 24/7 operation. Online upgrades, expansions, everything is online in the system. And maybe here is the point to mention that it's used, this type of solution is used by a number of enterprise customers. And the vast majority of our customers are service providers in all kinds of forms and shapes. They're data centers, managed service providers, infrastructure as a service, hosting, cloud companies. And on top of this, StorPool powered solutions are running companies like Deutsche Börse or Nasdaq Dubai, European Space Agency, workloads through our customers. Some of, customers are direct of ours. Some of the huge enterprise base that's running on top of this solution is basically running on top of our customer systems, but it's something that's very solid. Again, this solution is designed to be a very good alternative in terms of price performance and price functionality. It's not cheap. If you're looking for local storage, you don't need shared storage. Obviously this solution is going to provide a solution that's above and beyond, so it comes at a price, but it's designed for best alternative in price performance, price functionality metrics. Scalability, we already spoke about that quite a bit. And basically, it's a system designed for the 21st century. Has full API control, online reconfiguration, self-healing, service upgrades, delivering in no downtime. Think we're running towards the end of the slides, and it'll be open for Q&A. So if your goal is to be an innovator, if your goal is to stay ahead of the competition, you obviously have to innovate. And this solution that we did is allowing you to get ahead of your competitors in the things that were important to your customers, which are uptime, performance, and system that can really mix and match their needs and provide scalability for you as an operator of this system. And obviously, this is exactly, we deliver exactly what we figured out the market needs. So in a resume, if you want to learn more, if you want to get pricing about these systems, or you want to learn anything else about these systems, we are basically having Gavin Adams from M2M, who is the point of contact for this project, and you can basically shoot him an email and schedule a demo of the system, and talk with him about your particular use case or your customer's use cases, and we'll be happy to also assist. But we figured out that you want simplicity on any level, so Gavin is your man, and then he'll talk to us or engage us where necessary. So do we have any questions? Maybe. Okay. So I have my colleague Yvette who sending me a note here on the question about deployment of this technology in a data center, and basically it says how can you deploy this technology. And the process is very simple. You contact M2M. They will help you with sizing your requirement, which is, I think, the first and very important step. It is, you don't need a solution. You don't need a box. You need somebody to help you with identifying your business case and what you actually need. And they'll help you to size your requirement, and then you place an order for that solution. We'll build it, test it, and ship it to a data center. And then it will help you to connect it to your existing environment. be it VMware, Hyper-V, Linux environments, OpenStack, ONAP clouds, whatever you're using, we'll be working together to make sure that you actually have a storage solution that it does what it should be doing. Another question that I see here is, does latency go up as you scale the system? And the answer is no, latency doesn't go up. Latency basically stays the same in the cluster as long as you have the same number of IOPS. So if you have, let's say, 3-node cluster, the latency up to 250,000 IO is going to be about 200 microseconds. If you have a cluster that has 10 servers or more capacity, the latency is going to be again the same latency, just because of the way that the system works. Another question that I see is, what are the use cases that we cover? And the use cases are usually building virtualized cloud environments for companies that are cloud providers, meaning they're delivering virtual machines to sell to other businesses, or managed service providers who are taking managed SQL, Oracle, managed web servers, managed services. They're basically getting the application of the end customer, which is usually a B2B company, B2B play. So they're managing their applications on IT infrastructure, and for the most part, they're using their own infrastructure co-located in a data center, just because it delivers better margins for them, as opposed to putting the workloads in Amazon or Google. Because public clouds are good, but for the most part they're becoming very expensive when you start to scale a workload, and also it's very hard to predict their cost or predict their performance. These are the two main issues that we see our customers fighting with, or why we see customers even coming out of Amazon, because the cost was spiraling out of hand or the performance was inconsistent. And the use cases, you have you're a managed service provider, cloud service provider that just has to deliver services to your customers, or your hosting company, or sometimes you're a data center and you want to basically utilize empty rack space in your data center, and you basically start to run a small cloud in your data center, basically to provide services to your internal base of customers. So you become like a mini Amazon for your data center and provide storage, compute capacity. So utilize spare capacity and get some extra revenue. Or in other cases, we have private cloud companies that are all kinds of companies, financial, could be anything. Basically, these are companies that need very high performance, low latency, and they have a regulatory requirement to keep their data under their control. So basically, they're building a cloud and managing it themselves and running applications. And again, it's the same story. You have servers, networking, compute, and storage, and basically you're managing it yourselves to run your applications. So use cases are always around that. I think in 80% of the cases, these environments are virtualized. So the clients that we have and verticals, another question that came in. As I said, most of our customers, like 90% of our customers, are service providers that provide services to enterprise customers, or sometimes to consumer customers. And most of our customers are so-called service providers. That could be data centers, managed service providers, cloud hosting, infrastructure as a service, telcos, etc. Although we have all kinds of other customers. In the remaining 10%, we have like financial, software as a service, gaming companies. So it's basically anybody who has to manage their infrastructure for whatever need. And yeah, I mentioned some of the companies that are running on StorPool storage. At least some of their workloads are companies like Nasdaq in we have European Space Agency, the super computing environment of the European Weather Forecasting Cloud. You have Deutsche Börse records. You know, a number of enterprise customers, big number of enterprise customers that are running on top of StorPool powered systems. Okay, I think we don't have any more questions. So with that, I'd like to thank you for attending this short webinar. And if you have any contact or any questions, just send Gavin an email, and we'll be happy to chat with you. Thanks, and have a great day.